I could actually get ourselves connected. So we're Dalbaf, Ann Williams, dwi Cadeirydd y Bwrdd Iechyd Prifysgol by Abertawe. Croeso cynnes iawn I chi gyd i'r cyfarfod arbennig y bwrdd bore heddiw. A croeso mawr I Kate Havard, Ocean Lloyd and later Aidan Ray. So good morning everyone. I'm Jan Williams. I'm the chair of Swansea Bay University Health Board, the governing body of the organisation. Very warm welcome to everyone this morning. This is a special meeting of the board, and we extend a very warm welcome to our colleagues from Audit Wales and Internal Audit who will join with us this morning. So as the governing body, the board is the highest level of decision making, and there are some matters that are reserved for the board itself. And we will be discussing some of those matters today as we're meeting outside our normal bi-monthly business cycle to conclude some year-end business from 2025-26. So the board has stewardship of £1.8 billion of public money, and every year we provide a formal audited record of how we've spent that money and the value for money that we've achieved. And we do this through the presentation of our annual accounts. These are audited by our external auditor, Audit Wales, and then also subject to detailed scrutiny by our own audit committee, chaired by Nuria Zoleh, and the whole board is indebted to Nuria and members of the audit committee for their rigorous scrutiny. We'll also hear from our internal auditor, who gives their opinion on our governance, our risk management, and our internal controls. So we do all this in open session, public sessions of the board, because it's a means of demonstrating transparency and a way in which we can hold ourselves accountable to the public and to the government for our stewardship. We also produce an annual report that we'll be taking today, and this actually tells the story of the 25-26 financial year. What went well, what we achieved, what didn't go so well, and what we did about it. We have a separate annual general meeting each year when we go through our annual report and hold ourselves accountable in public in more detail. And this year we are going to do that at a meeting on the afternoon of the 21st of July. We're also taking a further update on our 26-27 annual plan, because we have to respond to some questions raised by Welsh Government and our own board following the original plan we put in March, and then the first update that we put in May. We'll be taking a report on work we commissioned from the Good Governance Institute on the current position, re our stakeholder engagement and partnership working. We thought it was timely to do a formal survey, and we'll be talking through what we do next. And then, of course, we've got a number of strategic relationships and partnerships that we work through at each of our sort of bi-monthly meetings. So they demonstrate the breadth and diversity of our partnership working. And GGI's talk to all our stakeholders, very pleased that we've got the basis of the foundational building blocks in place for effective partnership working, but it's clear that we need to do more, and we will be discussing that this morning. And then we finally will have an AOB, because we are experiencing extreme weather. As we all know, it's impacting on our patients and our staff. So we are going to give an update on that. So I'll turn to the agenda now. Gawn ni nawr at yr agenda, and we have apologies from Deb Lewis, the Chief Operating Officer, and Craig Wilson is here. Marie Davis, the Executive Director of Planning and Partnerships, and Karen Stapleton is here. Councillor Alan Llewellyn has apologised for now. He may be able to join us for part 4. And then we've had apologies from Rena Owen. Nicola Matthews will be late joining us, as we think will Richard Thomas. So can I ask for any declarations of interest other than those already recorded on our register? Anything from today's agenda, please? Thank you very much. So with that then, I shall turn to item 2.1 and our annual accounts for 2025-26. And Claire, I'll invite you to present on that, please.
Diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you, Chair. Bore da. Good morning. So, as a health board, we have prepared a set of accounts that are in line with the Welsh Government Manual of Accounts and the relevant international financial reporting standards. I'm presenting the board today with the audited annual accounts for 25-26. For note, the Audit Committee previously reviewed the draft annual accounts at its meeting on the 21st of May 2026, and the Audit Wales have now completed their audit of the accounts, and their report is included under item 2.2. The audited accounts are attached for information for your note. The Audit Wales report highlighted one significant issue arising from the audit in respect of the governance arrangements in relation to an appointment of an executive director. Further details of that are contained in their report. Their report also highlighted two other issues in relation to property, plant and equipment and the capitalisation of salaries. The finance team have agreed to provide the Audit Committee with a report highlighting the actions we will take to rectify and adopt best practice going forward. The Health Board did not meet its statutory duty to live within its revenue resource limit over a 3-year period, and also did not have an approved balanced 3-year integrated medium-term plan. As a result, a qualified regulatory opinion on the accounts will be issued by Audit Wales. The Health Board did, however, achieve its capital resource limit and its creditor payment target. So through the collaboration with the finance team and Audit Wales, other changes to the draft accounts have been recommended and agreed. These were predominantly classification issues and did not have impact on the Health Board's year-end financial position and primary statements within its accounts. There are no uncorrected misstatements. I'd like to ask the Board to ratify the audited annual accounts for 25-26 following the presentation of the Audit Wales report, which is the next agenda item. Following board ratification, the Auditor General for Wales is due to sign the accounts tomorrow on the 26th of June, and then onward forward submission to Welsh Government by the 30th of June. Finally, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank the finance and capital teams for their hard work, the broader exec teams for their support and response to answering queries as part of the audit requirements, and also the Audit Committee scrutiny and assurance and challenge in strengthening our financial governance and oversight. And finally, to Welsh Audit Office in working with us to complete the necessary audit actions on time and in full. Thank you, Jan.
Thank you, Diolch, Claire. And I'm sure the board will want to put on the record their thanks to you, the finance team, for all your hard work and diligence in compiling the accounts. So, as Claire has said, we need to take item 2.2 before we move to ratification. And before we do that, I'm going to invite Nuria, as the Chair of Audit, to give us the Audit Committee's views on the accounts before asking other members of the Audit Committee if they have anything to add. Drosodd hi, over to you, Nuria.
Bore da, everyone. I can confirm that the Audit Committee has scrutinised the annual accounts in detail and has received appropriate assurances, as highlighted by Claire previously, from both management and also from external auditors. The committee was assured that the accounts have been prepared in accordance with the relevant accounting standards and reporting requirements, and we would like the board to endorse the accounts at this stage, Jan.
Thank you very much, Nuria. So Steve and Andrew, you were both at audit earlier. Steve, anything you want to add? Steve?
I was muted. Only to echo what colleagues have said in thanking Audit Wales and the finance team for the work that they have done getting us to where we are today.
Thank you. Andrew, anything to pick up on?
Not particularly. We had the opportunity to go through the issues that have been highlighted and had satisfactory answers to those questions. So I'm very happy with the outcome.
Thank you very much. And as I said in the introduction, the whole board is very conscious of just how much heavy lifting you do in respect to the annual accounts. And Nuri, we thank you, Steve, Andrew, and everyone associated with the rigorous oversight and scrutiny that you apply to these accounts. So do we have Kate with us, Kate Harvard, on the audit of financial statements?
Diolch, Chair. Bore da, good
Bore da.
morning, everyone. I'm Kate Harvard. I'm the Audit Wales Engagement Lead for the Financial Statements Audit, and Leanne Maloch, my colleague, is on the call today as well, who leads the audit on a day-to-day basis. So I'll just touch on some of the items in paper 2.1, our audit of accounts report, just picking up on a couple of things that Claire said as well. So this report summarises the findings of our audit of the Health Board's 25-26 annual report and account. Our work is complete, as Claire has said, and should the board be minded to approve the accounts and approve the issue of the letter of representation, which is a couple of agenda items time, and also in our appendix 4 of our report, as Claire said, we will provide an unqualified, true and fair opinion, similar to previous years. Our regularity opinion will be qualified because the Health Board did not meet the duty to operate within its means over the 3-year period to 25-26, and also similar to previous years, we'll issue a substantive report alongside that opinion confirming the Health Board did not have an approved integrated 3-year plan. Consistent with all audits of accounts, we audit to a materiality level, so we don't audit to the pound, as I'm sure members will be aware, and those limits are set out on page 6 of our report. So 1% of gross expenditure will be 18.15 million. But there are certain areas we lower that materiality for areas that we deem more sensitive, and they'll be the remuneration report and also individual related party disclosures. There are no uncorrected misstatements in the financial statements, and Appendix 2, and I appreciate you've got a separate item on this as well in terms of your board packs, sets out the amendments made to the financial statements, none of which have an impact on the financial position of the Health Board. As Claire has touched on, there were some issues and recommendations to draw to your attention, and we've been through these with the Audit Committee in detail and provided our assurance that we will support officers in delivering against those recommendations. So I don't envisage there being issues going forward. We will also pick up on any good practice across the NHS sector and bring that to the attention of officers. Appreciate, again, I'd like to put on record the constructive and collaborative approach to the audit from the Health Board's officers who do have multiple competing priorities. So happy to take any questions, Chair. Diolch.
Thank you, Kate, and a warm welcome again, croeso mawr to you and Leanne, and our thanks as well for the constructive way that you work with our team in partnership on what is, really an intense period of work, we know. So before moving to ratification, I'll just open up to say, does anyone have any questions for Kate or any points on the auditors? Nuria, do you want to come back in?
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to extend my thanks to Audit Wales for all the work that they do and for working collaboratively with the Audit Committee and for keeping us in our toes in terms of learning. Thank you, it's very much appreciated. And I just wanted to assure the board that members discuss the key findings, adjustments and learning points arising from the audit process. And if you just heard Claire say, there are some key action points that we're taking forward as a result. And that's all I wanted to say at this stage.
Thank you very much, Nuria. So we can move then to receive our annual accounts and the audit of the accounts report as both Claire and Kate have set out for us. So on that basis, and given the detailed scrutiny of the Audit Committee, who have approved the accounts earlier this morning, is the board prepared to ratify the 25-26 annual accounts, please? Thank you. So they're duly ratified, and again, we place on record our thanks to everyone involved in this work. Now, of course, both Abby and I have duties in respect to the annual accounts in terms of signing the letter of representation, which is our next item. So Claire, would you like to take us through that, please?
Yes, this is the final important step and this is the letter of representation regarding the 25-26 financial accounts. This supports the true and fairness reflections in the preparation and presentation of the accounts. This document demonstrates that the Chief Exec has discharged her duties in the preparation of the accounts, and she does this through management representation, and this ensures that we have the right controls and measures to comply with the relevant accounting standards and legislation. It also provides, ensures that the information we provided is all the relevant information necessary to prepare the accounts, and all the relevant disclosures, and that would include any disclosures in relation to fraud or any misstatement risk. And finally, this financial statement representation ensures that the statements that we have provided really represent a true and fair view of the financial position in 2025-26. So I ask the board for the support in the completion of this letter in order to submit the full set of accounts.
Thank you. And Abby, as the accountable officer, do you want to add anything?
Thank you, Chair. Just to echo my thanks to Claire, who came into the organisation in the interim position and has led the finance team through this intensive work, and to thank the rest of the finance team and our audit partners for completing the work, and to recognise that an organisation as big and complex in terms of the services that we deliver the communities that we serve, this is a true and fair reflection of where we are as an organisation. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So can we move then to approve the letter of representation for 2025-26, please? Thank you. So we have duly approved that. And Kate and Leanne, diolch yn fawr iawn I chi gyd eto. Thank you very much again. You're very welcome to stay with us for the remainder of the meeting, but we'll understand if you need to leave us now for other audit work. But diolch yn fawr, and nice to see you again. So we'll move to part 3. Thank you, Kate. Diolch. We'll move to part 3, governance, risk and internal controls, and delighted to welcome Osian Lloyd, Head of Internal Audit, to give us the internal audit opinion for 25-26. Osian, bore da.
Diolch yn fawr, bore da. So yes, this sets out my Head of Internal Audit opinion for 25-26 for the Health Board. Together with the summary of the audit work completed during the year, our performance against plan and our assessment of conformance with the global internal audit standards. The purpose of the annual opinion is to support the Chief Executive as accountable officer and the board in forming a view on the effectiveness of the systems of governance, risk management and internal control, which underpins the annual governance statement. As with every year, this is a risk-based opinion and should be considered alongside other sources of assurance. The audit plan has been substantially delivered in line with the agreed programme, with any in-year changes appropriately approved by the Audit Committee. The plan has continued to focus on key areas of organisational risk and strategic priority. I'm pleased to say the overall opinion is that the board can take reasonable assurance that arrangements to secure governance, risk management and internal control within those areas reviewed are suitably designed and are operating effectively. And this represented improvements from the limited assurance position in the prior year and reflects a positive trajectory in the strengthening of the control environment, albeit with some further work in areas to ensure consistent implementation. I have prepared a supporting briefing paper which was presented and discussed at the Audit Committee this morning, which underpinned that judgment. I also just wanted to draw to the board's attention the audit performance section 4.2 in the opinion that sets out our service performance indicators, with the majority reported as green at year end, which indicates a good delivery against the plan. So on that basis, I just would like to thank on record again colleagues across the Health Board for their continued cooperation, engagement and support in delivering the audit plan. I know there's a broad number of reviews and it does require a lot of engagement and support from everyone across the Health Board, so we want to thank everyone for that. And I think that's everything I wanted to say on the opinion, but happy to take any questions or comments on that. Thanks, Chair. Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you. Diolch, Osian. And as ever, we are grateful to you and your team for the professional and the very constructive way you work with us in setting about your internal audit work. So Nuria, as audit also scrutinised the opinion earlier, would you like to give the full board the committee's view, please?
Thank you, Jan, and thank you, Ocean. The committee was delighted to see a reasonable assurance rating given where we were last year. I think as a committee we would like to thank executives and everybody supporting the work of internal audit. We have, as a committee, worked really hard to strengthen our oversight of overdue recommendations. We have improved our protocols and systems to tighten our management responses, and we have ensured all committees play a key role in scrutinising areas of weaknesses identified by our auditors. We do recognise, though, that challenges lie ahead, and we are working really hard to ensure that we continue that journey of improvement. So I'm delighted to be able to give you that assurance, Jan, and the commitment of audit committee members to work very closely with internal audit to continue our trajectory.
Thank you. Diolch, Nuria. Steve, would you like to come in?
No, nothing to add
Nothing
to
further?
what Nuria said, Chair.
And Andrew?
No, nothing further either. Thank you.
Thank you. So as ever, Nuria, Steve and Andrew, thank you, because both Abby and I sit in on the audit committee, as you know, when we go through the annual accounts, and we do know and appreciate just the depth of scrutiny you apply to this role. So we can receive and we can take assurance, Ocean, from your report to us, and we welcome the improvement in your overall opinion, and really acknowledge the commitment from Hazel and her team and all the executive directors to secure those improvements and ongoing patterns of improved trajectory now to substantial assurance, hopefully, as we move through. And Nuria, as ever, we will remit oversight to the committee under your chairmanship to continue your diligent scrutiny. Talking about. Thank you. Ocean, again, you are very welcome to stay with us. I'm sure you've got a number of pressing calls on your time, but we'd be delighted to have you with us if you want to stay for the rest of the meeting. Deal.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Hazel, we now turn to the annual report 2025-26. So Hazel will open on this and then Abby will have some additional points to make. Hazel.
Yep, just to start off then and place on record my formal thanks to the corporate governance team for the development and collation of this important governance document. The document is split into three parts: the performance report, accountability report, and the financial statements, which will now include the signed off approved accounts by board today. The document has been extensively consulted on. We've had comments back from executive directors, independent members, internal audit, Audit Wales, Welsh Government. We also reviewed it through the audit committee on the 21st of May and in the special audit committee earlier today as well. And the document you see now is presented for approval by board.
Thank you. And of course, as I said earlier, we do go into the report in much more detail in a specific annual general meeting in respect of it. But Abby, would you like to come in there?
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. And my thanks also, Hazel, to you and the team. It is a really comprehensive annual report and a really important statement of the progress and continued challenges that we face as an organisation that we dealt with during 25-26 and continue to address as we go forward. And when we come on to a later item on the agenda around our plan for this current financial year, colleagues will be able to see many of the work reflected in the annual report for last year carried forward into our plan for continued improvement in this year. Colleagues will be aware that I've often talked about 5 priorities for the 25-26 year. I've kind of used the heading of the 5 M's, even though they don't all begin with M. But if I just really quickly talk about those priorities that the organisation has focused on. The first bit has been around our financial position, the money. We've worked very hard to tighten our governance around how we set budgets and utilise our funding. But the annual report, and as we've just heard through the annual accounts, we are not yet in a balanced financial position, and our journey towards achieving a sustainable and balanced financial position continues. It is challenging for us, and we are working hard to make sure that we've got the configuration of services, the right workforce, the governance arrangements in place that we utilise and hold people to account for the resources that they are responsible for in the organisation. And we'll hear a bit more about that later on. So we are making progress. It's not as quick as we would like, and we'll talk more in the annual plan for 26-27 about how we're accelerating that work. The second of the M's is around maintaining momentum on our planned care recovery. We held a very good position in 25-26 in terms of planned care, achieving a maximum wait of 104 weeks for those people eligible on our waiting list. Of course, we want to go further, and we have committed in this financial year to working with government and NHS P&I to ensure that we are able to maintain that progress. We know that patients feedback the pressures and anxieties and challenges for them while they are waiting for planned care treatment, and we have made good progress, and we will continue to do so in this year. The third M is around emergency care. I appreciate that begins with an E, but for purposes of this, I've used that. And during the summer of 25-26, we did see a considerable improvement in terms of our emergency care key metrics, particularly around delays outside our hospital and transferring patients safely into our care when they've arrived through that mode of transport. We did see a tailing off of that improvement during the winter pressures, and there'll definitely be learning for us as we go into our planning in earnest for this coming winter. But I do want to acknowledge that across many of the indicators in emergency care, we have seen improvement, and we are working very hard at the moment to get us back to the position that we saw last summer, and to be able to maintain that sustainably. We used quality improvement methodology as a way of testing a number of small changes to give us a bigger shift in the key metrics, because we do know that patients who wait at every stage across the pathway do experience harm if they've waited longer for an ambulance at home, if they've waited outside our emergency department on an ambulance longer than is appropriate, and if they're discharged home after care has been delayed as well. We know that has an impact in terms of deconditioning. So an area of focus where we have made improvement, but are very committed to doing more at an increased pace of change. And then the final two M's, mental health. Colleagues will be aware we have a transformation programme up and running that was established in 2025-26. And we will continue that work. It is continuing, and we've made some good progress in key areas in respect of understanding what staffing we need in the key areas, moving to a digital system, and seeking an estate solution both in the short, medium term, and working with Welsh Government and national colleagues around what the longer term solution is. So continuing that work, all based around modernising the service model, reflecting the national strategy published by government in 25-26. And then finally, maternity and neonatal services. And in relation to that, I just wanted to acknowledge that today and yesterday we've read the deeply distressing findings of the independent review of maternity services in Nottingham. There are echoes of the findings of those of our family review and the SLICE review and our independent review that reported last year. And we want to acknowledge the impact that yesterday's report may have had on the families in the Swansea Bay area who experienced perhaps a devastating outcome because of the care we provided not meeting the standards that we and they should expect. If any woman who is currently using our services, who has done so in the past, wants to raise any concerns, of course we would really encourage them to do so. We will make sure that the contact points for doing this are on a statement that we'll publish on our website this afternoon. And as I said, anybody who has got any concerns, please come forward, whether that's relating to your current care or anything in relation to past care. The board is implementing a perinatal improvement plan. It is overseen by a perinatal improvement programme board, which I chair. Our perinatal committee is now well established and it's reporting in to the board at every meeting, our public board meeting. We recognise that we still have more to do to ensure that our perinatal services are consistently meeting the standards we would expect. And we're very grateful to women and families who continue to engage with us and for our improvement work. We would like to acknowledge the progress that our teams are making and their commitment to delivering the highest quality care for every woman and every baby. The independent oversight panel that undertook the independent review remains in place and continues to provide critical feedback on the progress we're making with refining and implementing our improvement plan. The panel recently spent 2 days visiting our services and will be reporting back shortly on their assessment of our progress. We will report progress on our improvement plan in detail at our July board meeting, when board members will sign off the final plan and will set out the arrangements for continued oversight of the improvement programme. In relation to the Nottingham Independent report and the report of Baroness Amos expected shortly, we will be reviewing all of the findings and recommendations of those reports, and we will cross-reference them to our own independent review and the Welsh Government National Assessment. We will ensure that any gaps or issues that are relevant to our improvement programme are explicitly referenced in our final plan that will come to the board in July. I'm very grateful to Liz leading that work and ensuring that we are making that progress. So I think it is important that we take this opportunity to apologise again to the women, babies and families who experience poor care in our services and for the devastating and life-changing impact those outcomes will have had for those families and women. As a board, we remain fully committed to continuing to strengthen how we listen to women and families, how we continue to learn and how we continue to improve. And I thought, Jan, at this particular moment, I thought it was important that we as a board recognise that. I've got no other comments to make, but happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Abby. And obviously, you know, given the very distressing report that we've all read, I'm sure, in relation to Nottingham and the echoes in terms of shortfalls in service standard that happened years ago in Swansea Bay, then it's really important that we acknowledge that the Nottingham report publication may well have, you know, act as a trigger for a number of people in the Swansea Bay area. And of course, the board joins with you, Abby, in everything you've said in extending our apologies and giving our commitment to keeping on improving and learning. Deal. Any other comments or questions on the annual report? Thank you. Pat Dunmore, we look forward to meeting the members of the Stakeholder Reference Group before the AGM. We'll be meeting you in Morriston when we welcome questions and comments from you and the group members on the annual report. Is there anything you wanted us to know now in advance of the meeting?
No, thank you, Jan. Nothing at the moment, but yeah, we do look forward to that meeting.
So thank you. So we've considered, we've received, and can we move to approve the annual report, recording our thanks to Hazel and the governance team as ever for all the work involved in compiling it and putting on the record, as Abby said, our apologies once again in terms of those affected by shortcomings in our maternity and neonatal services and our commitment to continue on our improvement journey, which we'll hear more about at the July board. Deal. So we'll now have a 10-minute comfort break and then we will return on part 4 and our annual plan. Deal.